The effort cannot be called into question. The performance of both the offensive and defensive coordinator, well, that's a different story. At the end of the day, Penn State fought hard, at times played well, but in the end, it was the same story as the previous three games have been the three games that led to James Franklin's dismissal of head coach and the beginning of the Terry Smith era. Iowa 25, Penn State 24. Penn State led by 11 points in the second half, but just couldn't close the deal. Joe Smeltzer and Indy Sports Now bringing in Kyle Fatman Golik. And Kyle, you can't say the team quit. All right. They played hard for Terry Smith. At times they played well. But when you're up by 11 in the second half, that's going to be disheartening to lose that one.
Jim Knowles is a flat-out disgrace as a defensive coordinator. And if he had any courage, he would resign on tomorrow. Here, this defense looks horrible. The regression is so astounding, Joe. They played better tonight. I'll grant you that. In the first half, they were there. But it's once again the same thing we're talking about every week with them. When it matters most, they cannot buy a stop. Let's be honest. Think about it. You mentioned it. They were up by 2 possessions in the second half. The offense spotted them, gave them an extension of a lead. It was a 5-point lead with, I think, just under 5 minutes to go when Barker kicked that field goal. Literally the ensuing drive. How is this team incapable of stopping a quarterback read? It blows my mind. It really does, Joe. Like, Mark Gronowski is not Michael Vick or Nico Iamaleava. He scampered, 75 yards down the field to set up that
67 yards, I think.
Yeah. Iowa averaged almost 8 yards tonight. I know Pat, he told us on Monday, he goes over the analytics and everything. Pat, I don't need to look at the analytics on this. Knowles got to go. He should have a bunch of boxes outside of his office. If you can spend $50 million to send James Franklin packing, I don't know how much Jim Knowles costs, but that should just be a easy severance package there for him, because this is a disgrace, Joe. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, this is bad. This team, and this is back-to-back weeks that the defense blew, actually 3 weeks in a row. Let's be honest. You go back to even UCLA. This defense has torpedoed the season. If they knew how to stop somebody, if they knew how to stop the quarterback read, if Jim Knowles didn't have this large ego of wanting to do this scheme, if they could have a pulse at times when it matters most, they would not be in this position.
Yeah, and we saw it last week against Northwestern. They needed a stop. I think it was about midway through the fourth quarter, so they got to stop there. The game's not over, but it certainly would have helped. And they couldn't get it done. The Oregon game, I think that loss was more on the offense, but still, they were one stop away from beating them in overtime. Would have been a signature win, didn't happen. And then UCLA, the defense just didn't show up from bell to bell. But yeah, it's we both are written critical columns about Knowles, but we can't not talk about Andy Kotelnicki tonight either, because it was not a good night for Penn State's offensive coordinator.
I want to know what was going through his mind when he decided in that consequential third down at the end of the game, I'm going to hand the rock off to Nick Singleton, and we're going to run it between the tackles. I would love to know what was going through his mind. What did he deduce that this would be a good idea? I mean, you want to know, Joe, how Nick Singleton finished tonight with? 6 carries, 15 yards.
Yeah.
Whiskey, Tango, Foxtrot. we're trying to keep it G-rated here tonight.
Yeah, the positive thing is that they are leaning into Katron Allen as their number one running back. I think that's very clear now. And Katron was awesome, and he's been awesome all season. This should have been done a long time ago. I think we would all agree on that. But better late than never, I suppose. And it's very late for Katron Allen's career. He only has 5 regular season games left, and then who knows if Penn State makes it a bowl game at this point. We'll talk
They're
about
not winning
that.
another game this year, Joe.
No, they're
I
beating.
told you.
If they play the way they did tonight, they'll beat Michigan State and Rutgers. Those are 2 very bad football teams.
Hey, I thought Northwestern was a bad football team in UCLA, and you saw what happened. They couldn't stop them to save their lives. Until they can win a game, they got to prove it first. They haven't beaten any. Who have they? Their best win this year is Villanova. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
The Big Ten is a different animal, and if they're this is their 4th consecutive single-digit loss. What is that telling you? That means the defense and the offense both can't make plays when it matters most. This is not good whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, I think if they play the way they did tonight, that's good enough to beat Michigan State and Rutgers. I don't think there's any way around that.
I mean, you're more hopeful than me, Joe, but
They lost by 1 point. You're talking like they got blown off their field by Iowa. That's not what happened.
They didn't get blown out tonight, but it's the same. It's the same old song and dance with them. It's, can they make the plays when it matters most? And the answer is no. Winning games means not just being great in the first half, and it means being great for 60 minutes. They're not doing that. And even for how bad Rutgers and Michigan State are, you got to play 60 minutes on them. Like I said, this is going to be rough for this stretch for these guys.
Yeah, that's going to get rough at Ohio State November 1st after the bye week. That's not going to be fun. Indiana the next week, even though that's at home, you can't trust Penn State to win that game. Nebraska, I think that they just had a very bad night at Villanova. I think that's a winnable game for Penn State, but I think 6-6 right now is the absolute best case scenario for this program.
I'm thinking best scenario is 4-8. They'll win a game, but like I find it hard.
We're not losing to both Michigan State and Rutgers, or are they? I'm not. You can't rule out them sweeping those 2 games. That's ridiculous.
This team's been unique, Joe. I mean, I have a hard time. Think about in '88. This is way before your time, but in '88 when that team went to hell. I mean, they even lost to Rutgers. That was the last time Penn State, I believe, lost to Rutgers. So, I mean, this team's been doing a bunch of firsts this year that hadn't been done in 40 years and not in a good way. So, why not add another one to that list?
Yeah, and what was going back to the conversation about Andy Kotelnicki, what was with Jackson Smolik being on the field as much as he was? I thought it was unique, like the first drive they did it, but when it kept going on, like you can't get Grunk in a rhythm that way, can you?
You cannot. And, Bill Parcells, I know, has said it, and there's probably a slew of other coaches that have said it, and analysts and whatnot. If you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. And grant you, Smolik did not throw a pass, but it takes away from the rhythm. And Smolik wasn't even effective whatsoever running the ball.
No.
Okay. So, like, you're throwing plays away. Why? Like, when you're literally fighting to find something positive, why are you wasting a play? Like, this team can ill afford to be trying things. Like, it needs to find its bread and butter and roll with it. Like, think about this for a second, Joe, here. If you take away what Katron Allen did tonight, okay, Penn State had 18 carries for 28 yards. That's under 2 yards a carry. God bless Katron Allen. But they had 4 rushing, like they had 10 designed quarterback runs tonight, and it yielded 4 yards. 4. Like, why are we doing this? Like, why? Why are we still using the jet sweep with Trevor Pena? I,
Yep.
I
And Trevor Pena dropped a pass in the end zone that drive ended up being a field goal. If they scored a touchdown, if it, and everything else goes the same way, they win the game.
Correct. I mean, and that's the story of this team this year is the plays of consequence. Terry alluded to this earlier this week whenever he was like, last year the ball bounced incredibly our way, and this year we can't get a bounce. They got a few bounces tonight, but they also got a few that didn't go their way that blew it. And that was one of the big ones with Pena's miss there. It's just, Luke Reynolds had a few misses in the field. This team is, Joe, I've never seen anything like this. This is like, I remember living through the dark ages in the early 2000s, and really the issue with those teams is they just simply didn't have the talent. This team had an impeccable resume going into this year, so let's all recognize the talent. To be winless right now in the Big Ten, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of plays you can point to, right? I think the one that comes to mind for me is Luke Reynolds, that sneak they called on 4th and 1 when, you have Katron Allen who they can't stop. You don't trust him to get a yard. And not only that, it wasn't even a tush push. Like, Luke Reynolds just took a direct snap and ran. Nobody was pushing him from behind. Even though Penn State's defense, to its credit, did a pretty good job to hold Iowa to a field goal there. If they get that first down and keep the ball for a few more minutes, we might be having a different discussion here.
Yeah, and it goes back to this Andy Kotelnicki. He's trying to fool you to beat you. And Chuck, you're a Steelers fan, Joe, and Chuck Noll, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Chuck Noll always used to say, if they're trying to fool you, they can't beat you. And that's what Penn State is right now. They're trying to fool the opposition. You can't do that. You got to line up and out execute the opposition. They can't do that. That's the foundation to everything in football, is out executing the opposition. These gadget plays and gimmick plays, I hope Knowles and Kotelnicki go back to the Big 12. Like, this is not Big 10 football. This is a joke and a disgrace. Because let's be honest, Joe, take away Katron Allen's efforts tonight, Penn State has a whopping 121 yards of total offense. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And, a lot of it is due to them having a backup quarterback, which needs to be acknowledged. Ethan Grunkmeyer did he did what he could. There were some good
He did
things and some.
he did better than I thought he would. I'll be
Yeah.
honest with you. Because remember, we were on the Hawks podcast and I had this a 34-10 Iowa win. The fact that they had it a point, I'll give them credit, but here's the thing. The scales moved whenever you're having a 2-possession lead in the second half. You're executing like that field goal drive that they had in the fourth quarter, Joe, when they got the Barker field goal, when they milked, what was it, like 6 or 7 minutes off the clock, and it was 16 plays for 65 yards.
Mm.
That was a thing of beauty. That was like the first time all year that I felt that this team really executed on one side of the ball of we needed to do what we needed. We needed to extend the lead so that way we couldn't lose by a field goal. I mean, ideally they needed a touchdown there. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but they got the very next big thing. You had to score and you needed to milk clock. They did both. I'm not going to harp on that too much. But it's like, how do you go the very next play and just, oh my God, Joe. I saw that. I was like, it was 4-letter expletives in my car on my way to Sheetz here in Altoona. I couldn't believe it. Like, when it absolutely mattered the most. And I literally pulled off on, what is it, 322 out there, and I literally rewound the Peacock thing because I had it playing on my phone through the AirPlay because I had to see what happened. And literally, when the Iowa offense literally got the Penn State linebacker blocked, and I think it was DeLuca, so I don't want to blame DeLuca, but they had the defender blocked, and it probably ended up being that. And there was nobody home, and he's scampering down the field. I was like, did they not learn anything? And it's so
Yeah.
frustrating. I hope our audience hears my tone with this, that at some point, the defense was given a chance to seal the game. The defense up in the last 2 weeks, especially, to kind of make a stand to seal a game, and they failed to do it. They're not. It's mind blowing, Joe. I'm at a loss for words, and it's like, I mean, I'm glad I got a nice 2-hour car ride home. I mean, it's going to be some interesting content being created, but it's just, I'm at a loss here, and this is rough.
Yeah, and our colleague Tyler Donahue made a pretty good point on his Twitter account, writing about how coming into the season, one of among the hype talk for Penn State was that they had the best coordinator duo in the country in Jim Knowles and Andy Kotelnicki, and there was reason to believe that Kotelnicki had turned down a Big 12 head coaching offer. Jim Knowles had just won a national championship. But yeah, it just has not worked out that way at all. And it's amazing to think of how different things are from a few months ago, even a few weeks ago, than how where we are standing right now.
I mean, Joe, I've been watching. I mean, I've seen teams have some implosions, but this one is for the books. I can't, tonight was just, there's positives. So, I don't want this to be the podcast where Fatman loses his crap in a Sheetz parking lot on YouTube Live. So let's try to let's hear some positives. So I'm going to be positive for a little bit, because let's lower the blood pressure. Grunkmeyer, I think, for what he was asked to do, I thought did well. There were a few key drops. Had those plays been made, I think he has a much better outing than what's there on the sheet. Katron Allen, I think we've highlighted that a good bit, but it goes to needless to say, without him, this game would have been absolutely ugly. Zaki Wheatley had a monster game for the Nittany Lions. Elliott Washington getting that touchdown at the end of the first half off of the long field goal block, and like, what was Ferenc even thinking there? That blew all our minds up at Pegular Arena when we saw that happen. We're like, what's going on there? Even Dom's trying his absolute best, but like, and I'm just gonna say it. He did have 8 tackles tonight and did well. You start going through here. Once you start getting past that, it gets kind of ugly here for it. I mean, I know it's a 1-point loss, but it's like, it's been the macrocosm of the whole season, the inability to finish. And, they had some pretty big efforts tonight to position them for a win. And it's like, what are we doing? What are they doing? It's just, I think, this bye week comes at a good time. And what I'm hoping Terry can do is, one of the things that he said on earlier this week was, we need to get everyone pulling at the same rope. And I think he got the offense to do that to an extent. I wouldn't say it's 100% there, but it's significantly improved. The defense, to an extent, it's all right, but it's missing so much. I mean, had Iowa had any semblance of a vertical attack, this game would have been ugly. Let's just call it like we see it. And I think the defense is far, far behind. I mean, what did Zane Durant do this evening? Because I'm looking here. I mean, I don't even see him on the stat sheet here for defensive stats. Do you?
I didn't notice him. I thought you got to give Xavier Gillum credit at least for that block field goal, which I mean that was.
I forgot who got that. I was hoping you were going to pick me up on that. It was nice to see that some other linebackers got some action tonight too. Like Anthony Specca got some action. Keon Wiley got some action. Like they're getting some guys experience, which is fantastic. But again, it's like I feel like I'm watching Groundhog Day with this team, and I'm Bill Murray. Everyone here's Bill Murray. Like they somehow come up short once again. It's so disheartening. I mean, it's just rough. And, you know, both Kotelnicki and Knowles, they better not be retained. I mean, I don't see.
Well, I think at least one of them would have gone, even if these last 6 games had gone well. I don't think the new coach would keep both coordinators. I don't think that's realistic. Maybe one of them, but yeah, I mean, keeping both of them was never going to happen. And after tonight, I don't see how you keep.
I think that the you know, going into the night, like I'll be honest with you, Joe. You know, this week, even after the tumult of Franklin being relieved of his duties, I was at least toying with the idea of saying, well, maybe AK and Knowles deserve at least another run back. I mean, they're quality coordinators. Whoever's coming in, they at least have rapport and whatnot. After tonight, forget about it. I mean,
I don't think you can set a tone for a program by keeping both coordinators.
I was hoping. I'm hoping Pat Kraft, the second that Jim Knowles came out of the box, pulled what Pat Hayden did to Lane Kiffin on the tarmac at LAX. I mean,
yeah, I don't think that happened.
We're not that lucky, but it's Knowles is. And I know everyone's going to probably be thinking I have this giant anger towards it, but like, how do you take a defense and completely neuter it the way he did? Is, that has to be part of his career highlights, because how do you go from being this genius the last few years to all of a sudden being as inept as he of getting this team into place? It's mind-boggling. And Andy, I think we got our answer about offenses between whether we're seeing James' offense or we saw Andy's offense, because it looked just outside of Katron Allen. Like I said, it's just, where's any creativity? Like anything we saw AK do last year, or even when he was at Kansas, it's like, it's a mystery. Like, how do you have this talent? Like, this is what's crazy. They bring in these receivers. Okay, Kyron Hudson has some of the shortest hands in the country. Devontae Ross led all Sun Belt receivers in touchdown receptions. Trevor Pena led the ACC in receptions. Then you go to the tight end room. You have Khalil Dinkins, who is looking like the next in line. You got Luke Reynolds, who's a former 5-star product. You got Rapp, who is back. And they have no semblance of a pass game. Even when Drew was in there, they never opposed their will vertically. Like, it's mind-blowing. And then the regression of Nick Singleton this year, that's a case study in itself because, Joe, let's be honest, he put together an Orange Bowl for the ages.
He did.
I mean, you could easily rank that amongst the greatest Penn State bowl performances by a running back. And so, I was thinking he was going to push at least 6 yards a carry this year and really be that difference maker. I mean, he's been such a non-factor, and it's like, and I know I'm going back to the what I led off with, but how when the game is on the line in that third, I think what was it, 3rd and 5, and you're going to run Nick Singleton up the gut, like what was up Andy Kotelnicki's mind? It's like, wow, like like I said, when we were discussing it, if they wanted to throw Nick in the flat or into space and see if Nick can get the ball and make a move and use his speed to do something, I'm all into it. But to just say, hey, we're going to run it up the gut with a guy that just wasn't getting it at all that evening, it's mind-blowing. It's...
Yep.
Someone's going to lampoon me because of this video, and that's fine. I'll even laugh at it because it's just like, I feel so bad for these guys. I really do. Like how this season has gone, but it's like they're stuck in this perpetual Groundhog's Day. It's mind-blowing.
Yeah. And we can't end this show, which we will soon, because we got to get post game content out there for Nittany Sports Now. But we got to commend Terry Smith because clearly he had these guys ready to go, and that had been lacking.
That's probably one of the biggest positives. I even though I lampooned the if shirt, which okay, I will still beat up on it a little bit because with how the game ended,
there is a story behind it that involves Joe Pa. So
yeah, I mean, we're inspiring the team through Joe Pa's favorite poem by, what was it, Rippling or Kipling or what? I just it's late and it's been I think it was a great move, great job to bring solidarity. It's something he's trying. I would rather see Terry try something like that than do nothing at all. But he got them together. Like, I thought it was going to be an absolute disaster in Iowa City, where it was going to be a Penn State clunker, and we were going to be here. And grant you, I'm still as upset as I would be if it was 34-10 as I predicted. They got some outstanding performances that kept them in the game, which is fantastic, and it capitalized on plays and created opportunities. But what's ultimately the same symptom that James fell to, Terry's now dealing with. It's like, when it matters most, you can't get the stop, you can't get the key plays done. Whether it's the offense being in that 1st and goal situation from the 10 and not advancing it at all and having to settle for the field goal, or even Jim's defense. It's a very frustrating year. It's next in 2 weeks. It's not going to get much better.
No, it'll get worse.
And it's at what point will we see someone opt out for could we see a Nick Singleton just say, hey, I'm going to go focus on the draft. This isn't I'm not improving anything at this point. I mean, we see players have opted out of bowl games and whatnot, but at this point, what are some of these seniors gleaning right now out of it? And it's not much. And I think it doesn't help Penn State either, because they should really start seeing what they have youth-wise and seeing who they really need to try to retain, so that way they're not running to the portal. Because you think you might have someone. There's guys we know of, but it'd be nice to start seeing it, because this is already a lost year. I mean, even if this team does go 3-9, and that would be an absolute disaster, I would hope what next year brings anew is the team knows who they got. They know what to go shopping for in the portal, and they can get back to being competitive in 26. At this point, I'm not looking for a bowl. I'm not looking for anything else. I'm thinking who this team needs, who's going to be who they can retain, and whatnot. Like I said, it's just not there.
Yep. And that's going to do it for this live edition of Joe and the Fat Man. We'll have plenty more about tonight's game in Iowa City on Nittany Sports Now. And we'll be back early next week to talk a little bit about the bye week and the head coaching search. This has been Joe and the Fat Man.
Good. Before we say goodnight, Canada, guys, check out my hockey content from tonight. Good 3-0 win at the Pegula. Got some good video on Nittany Sports Now of Godowski, and they had Reese Labach and Josh Fleming, who got his first shutout tonight during player availability. All videos there. Recap on Nittany Sports Now. Good night, Canada.
All right. Take care.